Hey there, and thank you for watching the Designated Pundits. We are previewing all 30 Major League Soccer teams ahead of the 2025 season. We are on to team number 29, NYCFC. We are back, Team 29, New York City FC, and we are joined by Tom Sweezy from MLS Aces. Tom, how you doing today?
I'm doing maybe a little bit better than the New York City transfer window and all of that this offseason, but I'm doing good. I appreciate being back on, so thank you guys.
Thank you for joining us, of course. And if you're checking this out for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You could find us on your favorite podcast platform. Just search The Designated Pundits or go to thedesignatedpundits.com. They're easy to find links right off our main website. It's a little reworked, but I promise they're all there. And if you're on YouTube, you know what to do. Subscribe, hit that bell icon, be notified every time we go live. Twice a week, once with a recap show and once with predictions. We're still working on those times, but we know we'll be back Thursday, 8:30 with all your sportsbook plays for this next week. Tom, we're going to start today's show the way we've started every show so far. We want you to tell us your favorite soccer memory of 2024.
My favorite soccer memory of 2024. I'm going to go New York City's win over Tigres in Leagues Cup. There wasn't many wins for New York City. Well, there was wins obviously on the field, but I guess more theoretical wins off the field for New York City in 2024, defeating one of the gigantes of Liga MX and one of the best clubs obviously in the region. That's a big opportunity, and it was at home and it's fun. So there was a rough, nice patch of 2024. I'll take the win over Tigres as a little bit of celebration for myself. So that's where I'll take my wins of 2024.
Let's take a little look at 2024 because it started out, you guys were cold as anything at the beginning of the season. You went through this April-May stretch where I think you lost 1 out of like 10 games, and they were all wins, win. And then cold as ice again for, a lot of the rest of the season. A couple wins before decision day got you into the playoff spot. 15 wins total, 9 draws, 14 losses, 11 wins, 3 draws, 5 losses at home, 4 wins, 6 draws, 9 losses away. 57 goals scored and 53 conceded landed you with a +4 goal differential, and you were eliminated 2-0 by the New York Red Bulls in the conference semifinals of the MLS Cup. I mean, the streaky, the emotion swings were wild. Tell us how you felt 2024.
I mean, you nailed it, right? Like the definition of New York City FC in 2024 was a roller coaster, a wave, whatever you want to classify it as, that's what it was. It was either you were getting a team that I think could knock off any club in the region, in the league, for a good amount of weeks, and then it was just ice cold. You saw a team play some awful soccer. It's the thing that I think defined why Nick Cushing was on the hot seat for most of 2024, if not all of 2024, and a reason why there might not have been a player turnover this offseason, but I think a head coaching shift and change was the main push. So 2024, streaky, hot, cold, great soccer, bad soccer, and I think a needed refresh for 2025.
I think a very needed refresh. I remember like all season just not understanding NYCFC. Every team I felt like I could get a beat on them, but NYCFC, like, I'm like, what is this? Are they a development team? Are they like supposed to be kind of, are some of these guys supposed to be finished products? Nick Cushing's over there like, no, I won't name a captain. I'm like, What? Where's the leadership?
It was a leadership. I think that was honestly, you know what? That's a great question. I don't know where the leadership was in 2024. I was trying to spin that to some kind of positive. I don't think that there really was. And I think, again, ultimately the reason why Nick Cushing got let go, it was a team that invested $20 million last offseason in a good handful of young players, and eventually most of them weren't playing at the end of 2024. Most of them weren't playing key minutes, key roles, or even getting onto the field in the elimination, the game that eliminated them from the MLS Cup playoffs. It was one that I think I can maybe pick some positives out, but ultimately I think if any club, whether it's connected to a city football group or not, if you're investing $20 million, you want to see those players play, get minutes, develop, and that just didn't happen.
That's a lot of money for players who don't play.
Yeah, that's a ton. And I remember Magno got like a silver specialty card in like FIFA 2 years ago, and it led everyone to believe like he's the next big player. Not currently with the team, out on loan now. And you know, the story for me is like home away splits. And if you talk about the gulf of leadership, I mean, that's reflected in what happens. You know, when you don't have a leader, someone to pick up, level the team when things are going badly, you get the snowball effect, which is exactly what we saw last season. Let's look at the contributors, the guys who did put the ball in the back of the net. Alonso Martinez, 16 goals, 3 assists. My surprise player of the year. Did not see that in him at all. Santiago Rodriguez, 12 goals, 6 assists. Hans Wolf, 5 goals, 7 assists. You have Monsef Bakrar, who is the punching bag for this show. The guy I loved to blame everything on when things were going poorly. Tavon Gray, 1 goal, 7 assists. And Maxi Morales, 1 goal and 5 assists. Got a couple of good goal scores, but it falls off real quick here.
Alonso Martinez, you mentioned it, was the surprise of New York City. I think you could probably say maybe one of the surprises of Major League Soccer in 2024. A guy coming over in the middle of 2023 that didn't really play much. He was a winger by trade, right? And then heading into 2024, Bakrar had questions around him. You brought in Jovan Mijatovic, who he was a teenager, he has a really high profile, really high reputation around him, but was he going to take the starting spot? And then all of a sudden, Alonso Martinez transitioning from a winger to a striker, getting, major minutes, winning the opportunity, scoring a bunch. And I think, was up there in terms of goals per 90, outside of the only other name better than him was Lionel Messi in all of Major League Soccer in 2024. Alonso Martinez turned into a fantastic striker, got back into the Costa Rican national team conversation. So he is my surprise, and I hope he can continue some of that form into 2025.
Alonso Martinez, FOTMOB is giving him a goals per 90 of 0.83, which is great.
Yeah.
If you could score a goal every 90 minutes, like, starter.
100%, right? And look, the fact that I think New York City also had a lot of playmaking coming from out wide as well was a big part of that. Alonso Martinez finding getting on the end of a lot of balls coming into the box, right? Look at Tavon Gray's number, Hans Wolf numbers. Santiago Rodriguez was a guy who I still think is the best player on this New York City team. We'll see if he's still on this New York City team soon enough. I guess that is, the big question around this team right now. But I think a lot of Alonso Martinez's success came from creativity on the outside. And I think it's something you're probably going to maybe look for, even with a new manager, right? And how he's going to play, but something you have to look at heading into 2025.
Awesome. So now let's turn the page and talk about some of those incoming and outgoing players. Notice the outgoing seems a little more significant than the incoming. We will talk about that in just a little bit. As far as defense, you guys are running it back for the most part. McFarland is out. As far as forwards, Jovan M. He will not be with his services again this year. James Sands, that's a big loss in the midfield. Santiago Rodriguez, we are playing this episode right now on a Monday night, February 17th, as if he will not be joining the club for this season. Luis Barraza in goal is outgoing, and Thiago Andrade forward will be missing this season. Incoming, you re-signed Maxi Morales, who is a NYCFC like legend at this point, right? Like he is. I feel like he gets transferred out and comes back every year.
He rocks a lot of 1-year deals, but he is just for my own sake, best player in club history is Maxi Morales.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would agree with that. And a new goalkeeper. I'm not even going to try to attempt his name.
Craig Ron-Jetsing.
Exactly what I said. Okay. Any of the outgoing transfers really hurt?
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of it is guys who I think you expected to leave. Like Nicolas Acevedo wasn't with the team for a while. Luis Barraza lost his starting spot to Matt Freese. Jovan Mijatovic has had an interesting offseason. People can Google it. I'm not going to get down that right now. Christian McFarland has been having English clubs' eyes on him for quite a while. So none of those are the major surprise. To me, though, it's James Sands. That's the one that hurts. I personally have said for for a few years now that Keaton Parks and James Sands were maybe the best 1-2 punch central midfield duo in all of MLS. Obviously, the more, I think, maybe crappy part about James Sands was his injury that sustained this past weekend in the Bundesliga. So he was playing well, but James Sands is going to hurt that piece missing in central midfield.
They said he's going to miss probably like 2 months with an ankle. I had surgery on it today, actually.
Yeah. It sucks because his initial move a few years ago when he got the loan move to Rangers didn't really work out because of a managerial change. So he came back, found some great form, gets another loan opportunity now to the Bundesliga. Now he gets a major injury after a handful of games played for St. Pauli. So, it sucks. It sucks for the kid. So I do feel bad.
Totally. Well, look, let's turn the page. Let's look forward a little bit. Walk us a little bit through this lineup, through the depth chart. Tell us a little bit about how this team is going to play. And I guess let's start with the number one, Matt Freese in goal.
Right? I mean, Matt Freese, my pick for 2024 goalkeeper of the year. I know many people weren't in agreement with that. Christian Cleanup very much deserved to be up there, but Matt Freese, I think one of the overlooked players in Major League Soccer last year. Also not a great shout when your best player is probably your goalkeeper over an overall season, but that's a whole other conversation.
Depends on how good your goalie is.
Yes, right. No, look, Matt Freese won games for New York City in 2024. He is a stalwart of this team right now, and I think he's going to once again have a fantastic season if he's not transferred in the summer, because I know Tom Bogert reported that Freese had some eyes on him when he got the call up to January camp underneath Pochettino. I don't know if you guys want to keep going, but that's my only real Matt Freese take, is I think he's going to be an excellent keeper once again.
I would agree.
Yeah, I agree. I think he is quite a good goalkeeper. I think it's interesting that NYCFC only had 6 shutouts last season, which was like 20th in the league. That maybe says something about the defense in front of Matt Freese more than it says about Matt Freese. So talk us through a little bit about that. I think we've got Thiago Martins and Berk Risa starting in front of him.
It's the center back pairing is most likely those two. I can see Justin Hack maybe getting the starting spot over Berk Risa. That's maybe the only challenge I would throw up to this depth chart right now. Berk Risa lost his starting spot underneath Nick Cushing. And that's something that I think maybe is something to just keep an eye on. Obviously, new manager, right? So that is going to be the thing to determine who he likes, who he wants to start where, and is the thing that leaves me with a little bit of, I don't want to completely lock in players into a specific position. But Thiago Martins is most likely, outside of Matt Freese, probably a player that you can Sharpie into this lineup at one of the center back spots. I really like Thiago Martins. I think he's like a strong number 2 center back on most MLS depth charts, most MLS rosters. Unfortunately, though, I think for New York City, he's expected to be the number 1. And I think that is probably the thing that hurt their back line last year, and we'll probably see some concerns for this year.
Thiago Martins wore the armband for you a lot, didn't he?
Yeah, he's most likely the captain, right? I think it was James Sands for a little bit, but Thiago Martins, he's probably the most, if I can look at it off the top of my head, outside of Maxi Morales, he's probably the most experienced player on this roster.
And if I'm not mistaken, he's also your only current DP?
Correct. Yes, that is correct. Because Santi Rodriguez, right, is if we're making the assumption that Santi's gone, then yes, that he would be the only DP.
Let's look at the fullbacks. First of all, we need to know what they're responsible for on the field. And next, how they are in the depth chart. I have Kevin O'Toole out left and Elenich on the right. And Stu Hulgren was asking me today, who's your left back depth? And I said I looked up and down the team and could not find any.
So I can answer a few of those questions for you there. So yes, fullbacks, at least look last year, and what I'm going to assume is going to continue under Janssen is the fullbacks providing more attacking width, right? Pushing up the field. If one fullback's going forward, the other fullback's sitting back, right? Like that's primarily what it is. And I think each fullback also kind of offers offers its differences there, right? Kevin O'Toole is a converted winger to left back, and I think he's definitely one that will get up and down the field probably more than any other fullback we're going to talk about on this roster. Mitja Elenic, I think, is a fantastic young talent that is an excellent, or he's coming into his own as a very good defender. Excellent maybe is a stretch, but I think he's still a very young defender. I think he will take another step forward this year. And look, New York City fans are so split on Tavon Gray. You love him, you hate him. I love Tavon Gray. I think he's underrated in his defensive abilities. I think he can get up the field. He had 7 assists last year. I think he's
led the team in assists.
He's grown so much. I think maybe I put a take out there, arguably best right back in all of Major League Soccer, but that's a whole other conversation. I love Tavon Gray. I think he would be my one over Elenic, but I also understand how much money the club's invested in Elenic and his, European resume and everything like that. The other piece to your question, the left back depth. They signed a kid out of Wake Forest, Prince Amponsa, who was a center back in Wake Forest. He played a little left back in college as well. The understanding is that in the professional game, he is going to develop as a left back. The club feels comfortable with him as left back. So he's one of the 2 homegrown signings this offseason. The assumption is he will provide some of that left back depth for the team behind Kevin O'Toole.
A little bit thin then.
Oh, it's thin. I in a perfect world, I would have loved to have seen Christian McFarland hang around for one more year, maybe get the starting spot and kind of take that with his own. But that didn't happen. He got the move over to England, and I get it. So it is what it is.
Well, all right, then let's move up to this kind of new look midfield. We've kind of projected this as a 4-2-3-1. Tell us about the 2, right? This double pivot. Keaton Parks, we assume, going to start again. And then it looks like maybe Andres Pereira?
I would assume it's Pereira, right? Again, I mentioned it with the James Sands departure. It was James Sands and it was Keaton Parks in this double pivot for however long it was, right? Like one of the best central midfield pairings in all of MLS for a few years. And if James Sands needed to bump back to center back because he just provides so much depth everywhere, then it was Andres Pereira stepping up. It was Justin Hack stepping up. So I personally see it like that. James Sands gone, Andres Pereira stepping into that starting role. And he started a bunch last year. He played a lot last year. He is not James Sands, so I don't think fans of New York City or fans of the league should expect that. But he is a guy who earned a USMNT call-up. He is a guy who I think showed his talent with the Philadelphia Union, with Orlando City, and should be a very good central midfield partner to Keaton Parks. I think Justin Hack is going to be there as central midfield depth. Justin Hack is also going to be there playing some center backs depth as well. I'd assume he's going to maybe start some games as well. So those are the 3 names in that lower midfield block that I would assume you're going to see playing around New York City right there.
Let's move up to the 10. Right now, we are going to assume that it's going to be Maxi Morales. What would he have left? Does he have 34 games in those legs? And I'm not asking like a leaning question. I don't know. He seems to be approaching the age, and the 1-year contracts kind of spell it out for us.
If Maxi Morales plays more than 1,200 minutes across all competitions, I will be shocked. And at 1,200 is maybe still a stretch. Maxi Morales, I think, is here more as a club leader, as a locker room presence, as a guy like that. And personally, I think someone who's going to get into the coaching game with New York City and CFG once he retires. I think he still has enough magic in his legs to provide some maybe moments where he will win you a game, where he will put in a free kick, where he will do something on or off the field that will still get you 1, 2, 3 wins across the season. But I don't think Maxi Morales is the starting number 10, starting attacking midfielder, however you want to view it on this team in 2025. I think if it's 1,200 minutes, that's a stretch.
So who is it?
It's tough, right? Maximo Carrizo, he's not yet at that level. He's a U.S. youth national team standout. Everyone expects him to be the star of this team when he is ready, and the kid's unbelievable. Personally, the rumors that I've been hearing from what I've been seeing a little bit in preseason, and judge what you want from preseason, I think Hannes Wolf slides over into that central 10 position. He played it a little bit last year when needed, and I think he played it pretty well. So I think he will be the guy, barring some major, I think, tactical shift. He will be the guy sliding over into the 10 role.
Interesting. Well, then, okay. So let's move on up to the wingers. Hannes Wolf is sliding into that 10. Who's playing that right wing? And it on our chart, we're projecting maybe Ojeda as the left wing.
Yeah, I think that's it. Again, it's so difficult for me to sit here with definites because of a new manager, right? Before Malachi Jones, our super draft pick from last offseason, got injured, he had won the starting left winger spot and was looking fantastic at left wing. You know, he's coming back from a major injury where he missed most of 2024. So do I expect him to get back to that pre-injury level right away? Probably not. But I think it's going to be Julian Fernandez out on one wing, Augustine Ojeda, or Malachi Jones out on the other wing, and whoever's not starting is probably getting a bunch of minutes still off the bench. So it's those three that I think are probably going to eat up a lot of minutes there.
Between Ojeda, Jones, and Fernandez, I think that the wings are the strength of this team. If you guys have, success, it's going to be, on their backs. Of course, Alonso Martinez, we're going to talk about him, and Bakrar, who I was talking, who was I speaking with yesterday about? Glenn Close. No, the guy from Coaching Academy. What's his name?
Glenn Crooks.
Crooks.
I mean, look, Monsef Bakrar is... You guys are MLS fans, right? You know the Kevin Cabral jokes from years ago where he had the highest XG in all of MLS and just couldn't actually find the back of the net. That's Monsef Bakrar. He's a dude who he gets into some of the most dangerous positions. He gets the ball off his foot and it looks fantastic until it hits a post, until it just goes sailing over the net. And it's so disheartening at points. I was happy. He hit a stretch last year where he only had 4 goals on the year, but he hit like goals in back-to-back games. And I thought he just needed to get the weight off his back and he was going to fly. I'm starting to lose faith in Monsef Bakrar in terms of just he can get to the dangerous positions, but you have to finish it, right? And there's a reason why Alonso Martinez was starting over him all of 2024. But look, Bob, I agree with you that the wings are the strength here. I mentioned earlier before that last offseason that this front office spent $20 million on players. Augustine Ojeda and Julian Fernandez were 2 major key components of that, right? So these are guys that if they take the step forward, as I think the front office is hoping and expecting, they should and could be stars of this league in 2025. So if those 2 take a step forward, if Alonso Martinez, I think, is even half as dangerous as he was in 2024, this attack could be just fine. And you don't even necessarily need to worry about who's playing the 10, who's doing whatever, because I think this team showed its strengths last year from out wide when Tavon Gray got up, when Kevin O'Toole got up as well. So I think that's the best case scenario is the youngsters take the step forward. The talent is still coming and producing from out wide, even cutting in if necessary. And Alonso Martinez is just cleaning it all up.
Yeah, so I was talking with Glenn Crooks, not Glenn Close, the female actress who played Corella DeVille in the live action. No, Glenn Crooks from Coaching Academy, the Sirius XM show. He, said Pascal Jansen says Bakrar is in a good headspace at the moment, and he's going to be ready to go. It seems like he is very high this year on Bakrar, putting something together. And I just said, I haven't seen it yet. And I think that if you go anywhere on this roster, like the number 1 to the number 2 fall off from Alonso Martinez to Monsef Bakrar is astounding. For me, that is like...
There's a chance we could see Bakrar bump out wide a little bit too. We've seen it slightly in the past for New York City teams. I know when I'm hearing rumblings that Pascal Jansen's working on it as well, that he could bump out to a little bit of a right wing. I wouldn't hate it. I know. I think maybe like Alonso Martinez shifted to the middle. We saw him thrive. Maybe Bakrar is a dude who's playing out on the wing, but just needs to cut inside, and that's his game. I don't know. I'm here for the player love, but Bakrar is hurting me in recent years.
Let's take a look at some 2025 storylines. These are, posed as questions, but they're just kind of things we're going to follow. The first is, where can the team look to upgrade? You got some space. You have either, is it 2 DPs or are you going with the 2-4 model? Or do we not know yet?
I don't know yet off the top of my head, to be perfectly honest with you.
So let's assume you have room for 2 designated players.
I think, right, if it's Santi Rodriguez gone, I think you need to replace Santi in the middle. I think the strength of this team is out wide, but there's also the hindrance of if everything's coming from out wide, there's no danger in the middle. The teams can easily break you down and beat you that way. So I think the thing to me is it would probably be a 10. It would probably be an attacking midfielder. But more importantly than that, it's probably get yourself a game winner, get yourself a star. It comes down to who are the best players on the field in the MLS Cup playoffs. Bob, you saw it with Emil Forsberg, right? Like you saw it happen with the Red Bulls run all postseason. Emil Forsberg was the best player on the field or the hottest player on the field in most games. Right now, New York City does not have a game winner. Alonso Martinez, I love him. He's not a game winner on his own. So I think that's where it would be. To me, it's a star attacking 10. If it's the same player, great, but I think you need a game winner. I think you need a 10. I think you need a creative piece and, more central. But, yeah.
I agree with that. I would also add this team could look to upgrade some of its depth.
Yeah. I think
long season, multiple competitions.
For sure. I would say I think my brain kind of fixated on the attacking piece. So apologies there. But I think you're right, 100%, right? Like whether it's a young left back that you can kind of just have as a little bit more maybe of a defensive presence behind Kevin O'Toole. I think you could go out and sign a high-level TAM center back if you wanted. That's a lot of money in the center back position with Thiago Martins. So I also understand if that's not the play. But I agree that I think there are plenty of spots on this roster where you could sign. You don't even need to spend a bunch of money, but you could sign some reassuring pieces across the board at depth pieces.
Yeah, I don't think you have to break the bank on depth and stuff like that. Certainly, this is not a league that rewards you for breaking the bank on defense.
Yeah.
But having a little stability in some of those pieces, because I remember last season we talked about this and we were having the same conversation. If these guys step up, this team will be great if these guys step up. I think having that little stability around them and a bit of that competition behind them, helps those guys step up rather than being like, well, if they don't step up, we're really toast because the guy behind him is, definitely not ready.
I agree. And I think that's the thing that is, if you're operating a normal soccer club, it sounds great, right? But when City Football Group owns you and they see you as a development platform for talents from South America, for talents from the U.S., and where we can potentially move them over, whether it's City, whether it's Girona, whatever it may be, I think that's the only difference, right? Is maybe Augustine Ojeda at LAFC isn't expected to start and be an absolute game impact week in and week out. For New York City, he's expected to be probably a star this upcoming season, and I think that's the differences.
Josh Lafferty, a little bit off topic. What do you think about Columbus selling a lot of players and not signing anyone? Same thing about NYCFC doing it. I think they are coming. I think that it is complicated by the window timing as opposed to the rest of the world. But 2/3 of the season is going to be done before the summer transfer window comes. So, it's going to be tough. And I think that Columbus took a very, very large step back. But the bones are good. We know the coach is good. It's a defense-first team anyway. So I'm a little less worried about them. NYCFC, the problem that I see here, and it was plaguing my Red Bulls for the last few years, you sell players, you go with youth, and then look at what happened. It bit you in MLS Cup. You got a player who, he had a sudden mystery illness. It might have been the yips. It might have been some bad dietary habits. I'll leave it at that. Out there in LA, we don't know. And he's off the team. And that whole 2 goals in the first 10 minutes of the match, and it was over. I think that it's nice to play your young guys. It's more fun, like to start 18-year-old players on the soccer field. And I like that. You know, you guys like that too. But there comes to a certain place where, you know, was there no captain last year because the coach didn't want a captain, or was there no captain because no one stepped up and said, it's going to be me, I'm going to lead this team? And when you have only young players, you get, you know, into these emotional slumps that you can't pull yourself out of. You get into these situations where MLS is a hard league to play in, and you need some old guys. Look, I think, you know, you need veteran MLS guys on your squad. That it's just that easy.
There's a reason why when you look at the New York City FC team that won MLS Cup, it was I think maybe on average the oldest team in those playoffs, right? Like playing your teenagers is great, developing talent's great, it's fun, it's sexy. You make a bunch of money, you do all this stuff, right? That's the stuff that I think makes the headlines. But when you come down to winning games, you want to look at the Columbus question, right? Columbus has a lot of experienced players in a lot of different positions. Yes, they also have a lot of young talent, but that young talent's meshed and mixed in well with the veteran, the Steven Moreras of the world, right? The Rudy Camachos of the world. And that's just something that, you know, whether we look at the 2024 version of New York City, whether we look at this 2025 version of New York City, I just don't know if this is a youth mixed with veteran team. I do know it's not. So, you know, I'll answer my own question there. It's not. So, yeah, I can completely agree with you, Bob. I think that's a fantastic point.
I think, you know, one of the Red Bulls' underrated moves of the offseason was getting Tim Parker.
100%.
Ideally, he plays 0 games this year. That's the ideal number. But if he was on the team during MLS Cup, one of those 2 goals wouldn't have been in. We would have had a much different ball game. That's all I'm going to say. I know I keep bringing on it. We don't have ours yet, so it is what it is.
Island guy, I will always ride for Tim Parker, even if he's on the other side of New York. Okay,
Scott, you want to run us through the predictions?
Yeah. Look, let's. Excuse me. Well, something in my throat there. Look, let's put on that prediction hat. Last year, Tom, you brought a little bit of the Kool-Aid with your prediction hat. I'm looking for that again this year. Okay. Look, let's be realistic. What is this team really? What's a realistic outcome for them? What's their best possible outcome? Everything goes right. All the guys that are supposed to step up. And then, you know, things go wrong. What's the worst possible outcome? Give us a little bit of that. What has to go right? What has to go wrong?
The realistic, I think the safe prediction is like 7th to 8th in the Eastern Conference. I think that's like realistic, safe options because I think the rest of the East has gotten a lot better. The best possible outcome, Julian Fernandez and Augustine Ojeda are the absolute just game-changing young wingers, and they're getting sold for $20 million each next offseason. And Alonso Martinez keeps up his scoring rate. And, you know, Andres Perea and Keaton Parks are a fantastic central midfield duo, and Alenich steps up, and Matt Freese is goalkeeper of the year. And it's all fantastic. I think you're looking at like 4th in the Eastern Conference still. I think that's probably the best team outcome there. And then if I'm going super pessimistic New York sports fan, I'm a Mets fan, I'm a Knicks fan, I'm a Jets fan. Here I am. It's completely, I think, bottoming out and missing the playoffs. It's a team that is just too young to compete, is too infrequent with the good, the bad, what you're going to see every single week. Injuries happen. Maxi Morales is 40 years old, and I think it's a team that finishes 9th, 10th, 11th, somewhere in that range.
I think this team is going to live or die by their road form because they have one of the best home field advantages.
Yeah.
Just like it's like architectural.
Yes.
Right?
It's not even the talent. It's more.
It's not even the talent.
We're going to shrink the field on you.
Yeah, this team can't fail at home. They have one of the best home field advantages, and truthfully, if you can be consistently good at home, that puts you in the playoff picture.
Yeah.
And so, realistically, this team should be close to the playoff picture. Even if like things really go sideways, this team should be close to the playoff picture. Just because the home form.
Yeah.
I did my predictions, and I will spoil you. They are 10th. They do miss the playoffs on my sheet, and it's because they didn't get better, and there are a lot of teams underneath NYCFC. They were 6th last year that got better. Red Bull got better. Atlanta got much, much better. You have one of, I don't know if it's Philly, New England, or Nashville. One of those teams is going to play better than they did last year. I don't know which one, and I don't want to bet money on that right now. But there were too many moves made, especially with like Philly and New England there. I just like someone's going to sneak in somewhere. The Chicago Fire have made huge changes. They could miss the playoffs and still be the most improved team, in the Eastern Conference.
It's funny because the three first teams you named, right? Philly, New England, and Nashville are the 3 teams I would not put in front of New York City right now. If you're looking at teams that I think finished lower than New York City last year that are gonna make the jump over them, Chicago, I think 100%. Jonathan Bamba is a ridiculous, I think, season shifting type of signing. And then I'm looking at Montreal. I think Montreal were a pretty good team at the end of 2024. I think you give another year, like you give the manager another year to kind of get his guys in, get his system in, get his tactics in. And they have, we don't want to talk about a young team. They have a lot of young talent that has actually a bunch of MLS soccer played under their belt, which is different than I think this young team we see in New York City. I could see Montreal jumping. I could see Chicago jumping. I could see New England jumping, but that's I'm less sold on the Revs right now in 2025. But I agree. I think the rest of the East getting better hurts New York City, who maybe just stayed the same.
They did a little bit. I still stand by the home form thing. Like,
I agree.
If you win your games at home, that's a baseline of points.
You can get double digit wins at home. You can pick up 9, 10, 11 wins in that range. I think even if the rest of the season is just meh performances, you're a bottom tier playoff team. And that's kind of where I think New York City falls, to be honest.
The playoffs are still generous.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's going to be tight. I think this is going to be a team sweating it near decision day.
I agree. I'm not happy with this year's preview, guys. I wish I was coming on and I could talk about Jonathan Bamba playing left wing for New York City, but it's not the case.
I agree, but I do think that while I don't necessarily have faith that NYCFC is going to go out there and spend $75 million this summer, I do think that they are historically good at knowing the problem, seeing the problem, and addressing the problem. So I would be shocked if this is the depth chart that we see 2 months from now. I think there are going to be changes.
I'm waiting for the absolute last minute 2 major signings from some city football group club the day before the transfer window ends. And those are going to be the 2 guys that come the fall are the 2 guys we're relying upon to win games, because it happens every year. New York City waits until the last possible minute for some dude that
the third week in March,
no rumor, and they're studs for the team.
Tom said Jack Grealish is coming. All right.
Kevin De Bruyne, let's go. Let's bring him in, okay? We need a new 10. Let's bring in KDB, okay?
There would be a market for that. That's absolutely sure. We don't know what's going to happen with this team yet, but we're going to cover it all season long. So we hope you guys join us back as we finish up tonight in just about 20 minutes, previewing San Diego FC, a team no one knows anything about. Spoiler, I think they're actually going to be really good. I got to look at them play against one of their preseason games, and I think that they are cooking with fire. Thank you guys for joining us. Tom, one more time, let us know where we can find your work.
MLS Aces podcast. You can find it on any podcasting platform. MLS Aces on social media and MLS Aces on YouTube. So just search it, Google it, you'll find it.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. And thank you out there for checking in on the Designated Pundits.